Everyone, back to the more YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my Aftermath. This is the show we do when the dust has settled from the post-match analysis of Newcastle United's most recent game. That was a 2-1 victory right at the death against Fulham at St James's Park. A game I was supposed to be at, but the Rampmobile, which I'm currently sat in, was a bit poorly. And I had to take it to the garage and get it fixed, so I missed the game. So sadly, I missed the game, but happily I was able to be on the post-match analysis. So I probably covered a lot of what I'm going to talk about, but this is me thinking a little bit more about the game, about the performances, about the impact. Consumed a bit of content as well from some of my favourite content creators, and it's given me a couple of other things to think about. If this is the kind of thing guys like, smash subscribe, help get us to the next milestone, which is 12,000. We're really close. We're within 200 now, thanks to you lovely people who hit that button in the live stream. So we're going to be really close to the 12,000. Once we get there, I have an unbelievable prize to give away, and you could be in it to win it. Simple, no need to pay, just free entry. Click that button, subscribe, you know what to do. So let's get stuck into the game itself then. Now, was it a great performance from Newcastle yesterday? No, not really. You know, we didn't really capture the same kind of lightning that we had against Benfica. A lot of the players who excelled against Benfica, Lewis Miley in particular, kind of didn't excel really against Fulham. It was a bit of a scruffy game. We created more chances for Fulham, I think, than Fulham's team did. We were passing the ball straight to them. We were lethargic. We were poor on the ball. We made bad decisions. We should have scored. You know, Votamata hits the post, Murphy hits the post, then he scores a great goal and fluffs his lines on an identical chance going 1-on-1, but we should have really been 2-0 up going into half time. So that was a shame really, in terms of that we allowed Fulham to get back into the game. You could kind of see them coming back into the game beforehand. I mean, when the half-time whistle blew, arguably he could have made the changes then, but Eddie Howe doesn't. He backs the lads to come out and do something in the game, and we didn't get a grip of it. Fulham score. It's a sloppy goal from us defensively. We've been so tight defensively, it could have just been fatigue. I thought there was some real tired bodies out there. Trippier and Dan Burn in particular look really tired. I think a lot of football for someone who in their mid-30s, it's really showing in terms of the squad depth. And you know, good news about Livramento and Hall in the lead up to this game, that they may not be that far away. Boy, do we need them back. We need that energy, that youth, you know, that ability to play more games in a week than people in their 30s. And that's just only human nature. The older you get, the harder it is to do as much physical exercise. And certainly being a professional athlete, the older you get, the longer it takes your body to recover. That's just science, as they say, you know. So the sooner we get Hall and Livramento back, the better, in my opinion. But, you know, we dug in and we won the game right at the death, and it was probably deserved towards the end. We started turning the screw and we started putting the pressure on, and massive credit to Eddie Howe for making the substitutes when he did. Sandro Tonali brought a grace to the game. He brought a composure to the game. Brilliant effort as well, kind of on the outside of his peg. I thought that was destined for the bottom corner, and that's Sandro not even fully back at it. You know, he actually said to Eddie Howe in the lead up to the game, and massive respect to Sandro Tonali for this. He said, look, I can't give you 90 minutes. You know, Lewis Miley played really well midweek. Start him, don't start me. But I'm here when you need us. And obviously Howe did go up and say, look, you know, what can you give me? And he come on, and boy, did he give him something, even though he's not well and he's not fully at it. And that's a measure of how good Sandro Tonali is as a player. But I was really impressed with the substitutes when they came on. They really made impact. And I think this is the big thing I'm going to get in this aftermath, taken away from last season. Last season, we don't win that game. We draw that game. We might even lose that game in the last few minutes because we don't have the ability to bring players off the bench who can add energy and a dynamic to that team to change the game. And that's exactly what the likes of Harvey Barnes, Anthony Elanga, and massively Will Osula did. We called this video Will to Win. And I tell you what, massive credit to Will Osula. I mean, he's a hell of a character. You know, he's the kind of guy, I think if you were around him for longer than about half an hour, 40 minutes, you might either chuck yourself out the window or laugh yourself into oblivion, I think, because he's just a massively bubbly, excitable character. He has got ability, there's no doubt about it. He's got pace, he's got strength, aggression, you know, but what we've seen from Will Osula, and I think it's testament to the coaching staff. Graham Jones in particular, I think, has spent a long time with Will Osula on a one-to-one basis. We're starting to see him utilise those skills when he needs to use them. You know, he came on yesterday, the first thing he did was charge at the goalkeeper. You know, he's a nightmare to play against. You know, 80-odd minutes in a game when your legs are tired. He is a nightmare, and he caused them nightmares, but he did things that were more composed and more what you would expect from a professional footballer, making the right decisions. When the goal comes, it's a lovely press from him and Elanga, a nice little bit of play between them, pace, energy. Fulham weren't ready for it, weren't prepared for it. He takes a great shot. He's unlucky not scoring. Massive credit to Bruno Guimarães, who really took it upon himself to say, fucking, I'm going to win this game for us. And he legged it into the box, even though he was absolutely knackered. He said it in the post-match. And he gets the goal and we win the game. And that game could be massive for Newcastle, because earlier on this season, these games have been going against us. We've been losing these games. We haven't had the strength and the willpower and the ability to bring players off the bench to make those differences. But now we do have it. Players are coming back from injury. We have the squad depth. Malick Thiaw was sensational in that game. Certainly the last half an hour where it was make or break for Newcastle. He was commanding, he was quick, he was pulling players out of shit with his pace. Him and Cher linked up so well when Botman went off as well. The ability for Thiaw just to be able to play, succinctly and just, effortlessly with any centre-half is just an incredible endorsement of what a player he is and what a signing he's been. He was brilliant. He was bringing the ball out of defence. He was starting play. He was controlling at the back, keeping Jimenez quiet. And I thought he was excellent, Malick Thiaw, the whole game. I really do. I think on my man of the match, I give it to Bruno just because of he scored the winner. And he really stepped up in the last half an hour. But Malick Thiaw was so close as man of the match. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. We did see some tired leggy performances in the first half, but this is what's going to happen when you have so much football coming thick and fast. I mean, in the space of a week, just one day over a week, we've now played Benfica, Fulham, and we're going to have Spurs in a Carabao Cup at St James's Park, right? 3 home games in a week. Not a lot of time to turn around, not a lot of time to train, not a lot of time to work on things with the players. And that's the kind of cost you pay for being in the Champions League and playing in those games. And financially, it's beneficial. You see the money that flies around, and it's going to help the club buy better players. It's going to help the club grow, and balance this bullshit world that we live in of PSR and FFP. It's going to help us elevate ourselves to be one of those clubs, to be a top 4, top 5 club every season, to win trophies every season. That's the goal. That's where Newcastle want to be. And that's the price you pay. So much football in a week, you have to rotate the squad. And to be fair, it's something that Howe has been poor with in the past, but I think he's getting a bit better at it. Maybe it's because there is a better quality of depth on the squad now that he can do those things on. I mean, arguably, you could say if he brought the subs on early, we might have won the game and got a bit more comfortably ahead. But I think, you can't have a go at Howe because the substitutions changed the game. He did what he needed to do. And it's a huge credit to someone like Will Osula. I mean, listen, we were laughing our head off thinking that Frankfurt were going to pay 30 million quid for Will Osula and we were getting Johan Visser in. We were thinking we've played this the last few days of this transfer window like a harp from hell, to quote a Penguin in Batman Returns. But it didn't happen in the end, and it's a good job it didn't either, because Visser just signed before the dotted line. Then he blows his knee out on international duty, which to me he should never have even been on. And then Will Osula stayed at the club. He hasn't moped, he hasn't sulked, he hasn't thrown his toys out the pram. He's got his head down, he's worked hard. And, the goal he scored against Liverpool, again, was energy, determination, drive. The goal he sets up yesterday, that he said scored there, would deserve the goal, I think, coming on. But the goal he sets up, again, was determination, drive, running around energy, and they're the kind of impact subs that you want. It's a brilliant analogy of a substitute. And if anyone coaches kids' teams, it's probably a really good way to motivate players in your squad. Substitutes aren't there because they're not good enough to start the game. They're there because they're going to make an impact in the game. And that's a great way to look at substitutes these days. I don't know if that was Craig Hope had said that. I think it might have done in his video. Shout out to Craig if it was. And that's what substitutes need to be. This is a squad game. It isn't just a starting 11 game. There's players who need to be in your squad who maybe they don't start the game because maybe they offer you something off the bench. Harvey Barnes is a prime example. Someone who's just able to tuck inside and smack a raker in the top corner to get you back in a game or win you a game. That's what football squads are all about. So you don't just build a starting 11, you build a starting 16, and you need players to come on either to shore it up at the back, to put a tackle in midfield, to create some play, score a goal, create a goal. You need those players in your squad. They won't necessarily be starting every week, but they're there to impact the game off the bench. And years gone by, Newcastle haven't had those players, and it showed. We've lost games, we've struggled in games. You go back and you think about getting beat, from Bournemouth at home, and Brentford, and any team with a B really beat us at home. I think Palace have mugged us off at home as well. Leeds over the years, and we haven't had those players to come on and change it. We might have had one or two back in the St Maximin days, or Joe Willock when he signed on loan, or Callum Wilson, but now we've got game changers. We've got players who can come off the bench, who can do something to impact the game, and they need to stay sharp, and they need to keep the drive and desire to do that. Whether they're going to start games or not, they could still decide games. And that's something that Eddie Howe has to get those players in the mindset of and get them motivated to be those key figures off the bench in a game to turn a result from a bad result to a good result. And that's what happened against Fulham yesterday. And massive credit to Anthony Elanga as well, who's had a lot of shit, a lot of stick from a lot of us. Hasn't quite pulled up the trees that we want him to. Hasn't quite looked like a £55 million winger. But he comes on there, he does the simple things, he makes the right runs at the right time. His teammates are finding him. Balls over the top from Bruno, balls over the top from Trippier. That's what Elanga needs to do, because there ain't many players are going to catch this kid in the Premier League or European football for that matter. He's that rapid. But there's no point having all that pace if you don't do it in the right areas of the pitch. He did it. Osula did it as well, and that is massively key for Newcastle United getting that victory. And I'm buzzing with it. I really, really am. I don't know what it means for Spurs. I don't know if any of those players are in for a shout of starting. I don't think they will be. Potentially Harvey Barnes may come in. I don't know. Potentially in that game, but that's a huge game. If we win that game, we're in a quarter-final of a cup that we won last season. And I remember how amazing that was. I was at the parade. I didn't get to go to Wembley, sadly. I know a lot of you in the comments probably did. But it was an incredible day for Newcastle United fans. Our first trophy for 70 years. And boy, the city needed it. The goodwill, the positivity that just exuded all over the city and the region off the back of that win. And we took it in the Premier League as well, and then we finished in the Champions League because of that. And that was despite our star player, we didn't know then, down in fucking tools behind the scenes as well, allegedly. So that cup win was massively vital for Newcastle United, and we can't sneer at that cup again. I want to win that cup again. Fucking right, bring it on. If we win back-to-back trophies 2 seasons in a row, that's incredible for Newcastle United. Yes, we want to be in Europe, but winning the Carabao Cup does get you in Europe. It gets you in the Europa League, but we want to be in the Champions League, of course. But there's nothing wrong with winning more silverware, Newcastle. You get a taste for it, you want to win it more and more. Absolutely, 100%. So that's a big game for Newcastle United. Win that, we're in a quarter-final. Get our shit together in the Premier League, we're back in the top 10. We're 2 or 3 wins from getting back into that Champions League picture. This needs to be a turning point for Newcastle. We need to take our chances in games, hitting the post 2 or 3 times. We could have been 3-0 up by half time if we were a little bit more clinical. Use the ball better. Don't be sloppy with it. We were a little bit too rushed with the pass yesterday. We need to be calm. We've got very good technical players. Believe in themselves. Take the pass. Take an extra touch. Bring your teammate into play. We're changing from this intense high-pressing outfit to a possession-based team, and sometimes when personnel changes, it does that. Naturally, you bring in Lewis Miley in that midfield, for example, instead of a Joe Linton. I know he played yesterday. You are a bit more possession-based. Joe's still not great with possession. There was times he lost the ball yesterday, but all of it in the end didn't matter because we got the victory. But we can't keep living a charmed existence in the Premier League like that and hope that we get the chance to make amends for chances that we missed. Bruno's header, the posts, all those, Murphy's 1-on-1. In bigger games, better teams don't give you chances to get back into those games. And Fulham weren't shit, but they weren't great either. And a team like Fulham will give you chances like that in that kind of part of the Premier League. And yes, we've taken the chances there, but in other games we won't do. So Newcastle need to be calmer, focused, more composed with the ball. Stick to the game plan. Don't get frustrated. Take your chances as well. And we will climb up that Premier League table. But it's a great victory. It's 2 victories on the spin. We're going to aim for a 3rd one against Spurs. Massive game on the cards. But having extra squad depth is showing. There's no doubt about that at all. And the Fulham game definitely highlighted that. And I'm buzzing for Elanga. I'm buzzing for Osula. And I really hope it gives them 2 fuel to impact games like that, be it from the start or off the bench more this season, because they've got pace to frighten opposition defences. Absolutely 100%. And Barnes as well. We need Barnes to get back into the goals and be that player. He looked decent coming on. He didn't do anything great, but he had some dangerous runs, nice touches. He looks leaner, he looks slicker, he looks fitter, does Barnes. So maybe he's got a bit between his teeth to start games, and that is the Harvey Barnes that we need as well to impact games. So it's good to have 2 good wins. Doesn't matter how we got it, doesn't matter how scruffy it was. Bring on Spurs on Wednesday. We'll be back with match previews, opinion videos, all sorted evermore. Keep it on the button, smash it, subscribe. I don't know what I was saying there. Keep it on the button, keep it evermore. Smash the button, subscribe. Help us get to 12k. Remember to like for the old algorithms. Have a belter. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you later. Cheers.
heroes celebrate. They have done it.